appreciate this, that you have all come out today. This is a gathering of civil society, religious groupings, labor, academia, and political parties. And this gathering and moment comes in light of the current leadership crisis that we face here in South Africa. And this gathering serves very much to further the efforts around a national response. In line with this, I'd like to introduce Prince Mashele, who is no stranger to South Africa, a political analyst, an academic, and also a member of the Midrand Group. Prince is going to read out a statement that has been prepared under the movement, the Freedom Movement. And if you are tweeting, please use the hashtag Freedom Movement. Prince is going to read something out, and thereafter each member of the different organizations who are represented here today will have an opportunity to also just give a 2-minute brief introduction of themselves.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The statement I'm going to read was drafted and agreed upon by a coalition of South Africans representing political parties, civil society organizations, labor and faith organizations. We have among us representatives of the Democratic Alliance, the United Democratic Movement, the Congress of the People, and there's commitment by other political parties who couldn't make it today to be part of this process. We also have from Labour, we have FEDUSA, we have Solidarity, and we have also representatives of faith organizations. We also have civil society. I am going to read the statement. It is a call, it's entitled Freedom Movement, a united call to action by patriotic South Africans. Our beloved country, South Africa, has been plunged into a national crisis never seen since 1994. It is a crisis of a political leadership that has allowed our state to be hijacked by corrupt interests at the expense of the needs and aspirations of the poor, the marginalized and patriotic South Africans. The political mismanagement of our country has now reached a boiling point. It threatens to collapse the economy. Our country's sovereign rating has been downgraded to junk status. This means that the cost of living for ordinary South Africans will become more unbearable. Many workers will lose their jobs. The unemployed will have no hope of finding employment. Food and transport will be more expensive. It will be harder for families with bonds to repay their bank loans. While millions of South Africans languish in poverty, President Jacob Zuma and his business associates are busy engineering changes in government to enrich a small circle of politically connected friends. The removal of former Minister of Finance Pravin Gordhan is a culmination of a plot by Zuma and his associates to capture the state and loot resources from the national treasury. All this is done by a president who has been found by the Constitutional Court to have violated South Africa's constitution. There is tension in our nation today. South Africans are worried about the future of their children and their country. The nation-building foundations laid by Nelson Mandela, Ahmed Kathrada, and others are being demolished while the whole world watches. Our hopes and aspirations are being dashed. South Africans are fed up. They say enough is enough. They want a better future, a country of their dreams. We, the representatives of political formations, civil society, workers, religious organizations, and academia, are gathered here to announce the beginning of a movement. 1, remove President Zuma from office. 2, protect the South African Constitution. 3, restore power to the people of South Africa and protect their hard-won freedom. And 4, safeguard the state as an instrument of transformation and the socio-economic development of all South Africans. The immediate objective of this grouping is to help facilitate a large-scale protest outside Parliament when a motion of no confidence is debated. Then all the organizations that form part of this grouping will gather at Freedom Park on Freedom Day, the 27th of April. This gathering has the support of Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, and I quote what he has written to us as a group. In principle, Aunt Leah and I are in support of a united coalition calling on all South Africans to join the event on 27th April. It is important that we unite as South Africans to bring an end to state capture, and that we further have values of our democratic society by speaking out against any and all kinds of injustice in our society. Let's work together as South Africans in the interest of a better life for all our people, close quote. Those are the words of the Arch. We shall not sit back and watch while the future of our children is destroyed by a rogue president working with parasitic private interests. This is our country. We shall defend it. We call upon all South Africans to rise and reclaim their power. Let us stand up and defend our hard-won freedom and the future of our children and our country. Power to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give an opportunity starting on the far end of the table for each representative just to introduce yourselves and just give a brief introduction.
Good morning. My name is Dennis George. I'm the General Secretary of FEDUSA, which is the Federation of Unions of South Africa. We are a party of social parties in NEDLAC. FEDUSA was also part of the process with Minister Pravin Gordhan when that mission was cancelled to New York, London, and Boston. We are here today to support freedom movement because we believe it is important for all South Africans to unite. It doesn't matter from what formation you come, from what religious organization you are, because it's the end of the day, it is the working people in this country that will suffer. It's the economy is being destroyed. And if we don't stand together as South Africans and unite to fight, and we call today that President Zuma must step down, that we must have a plan of action to restore the creditworthiness of our country to an investment grade. And we believe that this is the only way as South Africans, if we can come together under the freedom movement and unite us irrespective of race, color or creed. I think that is very important. Our contribution and our commitment to this particular movement is important at our venture, and as we move forward, we believe it will strengthen our democracy. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And we stand at a critical juncture in our nation. There comes a point in every country, in every society, where you have to stop saying to someone else, your side of the boat is leaking more than my side of the boat. The objective that is here today is about saying, how do we ensure that the boat that is South Africa stays afloat, is a prosperous one that opens up opportunities for all South Africans. There have been a number of initiatives in the recent while that have brought South Africans from different strands. This is part of us saying, we are better if we stand together, and even if that standing together is against one individual. For ultimately, one person cannot have the power over 55 million of us, South Africans. Earlier on in the week, I met with leaders of political parties. We discussed the matter to say, how do we support initiatives that are coming on? How do we work collectively? And ultimately, when there's a freedom movement such as this one, we feel that it must be part of something that we can stand with. And many of the political parties that were represented at the meeting we held on Tuesday endorse and support the work that is happening here today. What is critical going forward is this, is that the collaboration amongst political parties and civil society and religious groupings, trade unions, takes to the streets to communicate to South Africans that this is our country and we must reclaim it. And therefore, it becomes then important, as others have asked me, why do you get on the streets? Why do you march? I say we march because our people must be able to be engaged about their issues, about their country. That's why the gathering on the 27th of April at Freedom Park seeks to say, let us reclaim our freedom. Let us reclaim the legacy of 1994. Let us uphold constitutionalism. Let us stand for a non-racial South Africa. Let us ensure that we build an economy that prospers for all the people. And it will be a gathering that representatives, the list that is here is not conclusive. And it's an open invitation to many more South Africans to say, come and be a part of a movement that will take on and mobilize in society for the purposes that I've articulated. We also, as has already been articulated, will form part of the mass action that will be put together on the day of the debate of the motion of no confidence in Cape Town. This is us saying, as South Africans, we believe South Africa must belong to all of us who live in it. And therefore, we are privileged to be a part of such a movement, and we certainly will add our support and invite many more South Africans to be a part of a way forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. The United Democratic Movement was part of a meeting of political party leaders on Tuesday. And we were delegated to come and represent those parties here. That is myself as well as the leader of the DA. We are going to report back to those parties. But what we know is that, what I can tell the South Africans is that those parties agreed about the activities of the 27th of this month. And our members will be encouraged to join that rally at Freedom Park. But we know that President Zuma, when he was in trouble, he started to come up with such phrases as radical economic transformation. But we know that this is nothing else but radical procurement for friends and families. And we need to stop this behavior head on. I hope that sooner or later, all these initiatives coming from different sectors of our society will one day converge under one roof and ask ourselves one question: Quo vadis, South Africa? Where are we heading to? We need to meet and identify any inherent defects which we can identify since 1994 up to date. And in doing so, we must also find some solutions in solving those problems. And hopefully the ruling party will accept the need to talk to the South Africans. They will have to choose between defending one individual or defending the rest of the country. As a result of this, as you are aware, I invited everybody that we should have a national convention. We have written to the Secretary of the ANC and all other parties and civil society. We have also written to the leader of government in business, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, about this initiative. Because at the end of the day, this must be an inclusive approach to say, how do we correct the wrongs we have been witnessing? Thank you.
Ben Peran, representing Organization Undoing Tax Abuse as well as Save South Africa. South Africa is at a crossroads, and we can stand idly by and see South Africa go down the tubes, or stand up, the way we did on the 7th of April, where people across South Africa, whether in a major group, as we did in the march to Pretoria, to the union buildings, or even a small group in the communities where they live. We ask people on the 27th of April to stand up, take a stand against corruption, against where we're going, and reclaim our hard-earned freedoms. Thank you.
Kate Carter from the National Religious Leaders Council. We're here really to support the initiative. As you all know, the problem has been articulated, and the religious people feel that want to be part of something that will unite our people, and also to protect our democracy and our country.
We will take some questions that are basically for the panel. Anyone that you'd like to speak to thereafter, you're welcome to do so outside or in the room thereafter. But if there are any general questions that you would like to put forward, if I could please ask you just to raise your hands and we'll field them accordingly. I'm going to start here in the front.
I'm Martin Jack around FM. Just the last time we saw you guys before the march, I think a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we saw quite a larger panel in terms of political parties. You mentioned that you are approaching others and that you will refer back. Can you give us details on which parties they are, and then where are the other guys? Where are the EFF guys? Where is COVE, the rest of it? Thank you.
Michael from eNCA. We've had, we've had the various opposition parties marching. Are we not running the risk of South Africans are generally accused of being apathetic, taking to the streets? Are we not running the risk of South Africans being fatigued by movement after movement, march after march? We're not running the risk of fatigue.
Alden St-Pierre from SABC News. Particular to Mr. Dennis George. The last time you were with the former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan on a roadshow with the business community as well. And this time around you have the current Finance Minister who's going on. And my thing about that is that in your absence, had you been part of that delegation, what would you have told international investors? What would your message have been to those international investors? And speaking about international investors, I wonder whether the freedom movement has had any support, whether financially, whether moral support from the international community, because it sometimes feels like the international community only becomes part of a crisis once things have become violent, and not necessarily while there's still dialogue, while there's still space to have interaction without violence having taken place. It's only once things become violent, like we've seen in Burundi, that you see the international community stand up, including the AU as well.
Genevieve Quinzel from Business Day. Two questions. First to Acting Americas for Mr. Maimane and Mr. Alamisa. Is this separate, what's going on here, separate to what you guys have done with the opposition parties? Like Marika asked, are the EFF on board? Let's be quite honest, the march last week, majority of the people there that brought the numbers were the EFF. And then secondly, is this, it's a great initiative and everything, and Mr. Mashela, you were part of that initiative after the Nkandla judgment as well, civil society. That almost fizzled out. How do we make sure this doesn't fizzle out? You come together on the 27th of April, everyone goes to the streets, we march, and then what happens afterwards? I know everyone talks about rolling mass action, but how do you ensure that it is? Because these things do tend to fizzle out in South Africa. Thanks.
Amanda Watson from the Citizen Solomon. How far is what is the status of the Concord action at the moment?
Okay, this might have been one little question. Sorry.
Can we take another set?
Okay, cool, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, answering on behalf of the United Democratic Movement, I'm sure you have seen me in a number of civil society activities, Save South Africa and this one, and I also work with the Forum of Opposition Political Parties. You are still going to see me on other initiatives because I believe that we need to attend to the problems of this country. As I've said earlier on Tuesday, we were mandated by the leaders of political parties and or their representatives to attend to this meeting today and listen to this initiative. We took a decision there that, notwithstanding that we have exhausted our resources last week, but we would encourage our members to participate in this rally on the 27th. So we have not joined any movement here. So, but we want to support, any initiative by the civil society of South Africa. If tomorrow another movement calls us, we are going to be part of that as long as it is intended to rectify the mistakes we are seeing today, wherein people have been saying to the ruling party, please attend to these problems, but they just ignore the citizens of South Africa.
Can I just, add in support to what the general is saying? Equally so, when you put together multiple events, that particular press conference that you attended with all the leaders of the parties was specifically a political one. Today, it's about a broader issue. So, as the general has already highlighted about the mandate, it comes from there. Now, in our interactions even with the EFF, they are very supportive. What they do on the day, all of these initiatives require resources. No one can deny that. And each party must then equally so decide how it commits to one another. As I've communicated, there are multiple events coming up going forward. And I think it would be amiss of us to suggest that all of them will be of the same mass and same scale, etc. They will vary. But ultimately, they seek to engage South Africans about South Africa. It's a fundamental issue here. And I think you raised the question about international support. Part of the work that I do is not only networking all across different countries internationally, raising these particular issues, but also have the privilege of being able to chair the South African Partnership for Democratic Change, which has opposition leaders across SADC, to which I will certainly put this and say, we need your support. In the same way as I've already come out to say, we are not supportive of what is happening with the leader of the opposition in Zambia. We've got to be able to engage the SADC region. And so, as chair of that particular body, I'll certainly be putting out this particular communication to all the respective leaders of opposition and various partners to say, even in Africa and different players, we must be a part. And then I think the question about sustainability, Mr. Lekota, who couldn't be here today because he's busy with arrangements in the Free State for another event that they are planning there, always quotes to say, we must have the stamina for struggle. Must have the stamina for it. Now, all of the respective movements may take different formations, and it may feel like some tire. But we can't tire until, because if we get tired, we assume that status quo is normal. And we dig into another level where, in fact, we can say, okay, let's accept the president has the prerogative to change the minister as he feels like it. Or the president has the prerogative to procure nuclear, which we can't accept. We can't accept the changes. So any movement, any initiative that seeks to drive society and continue, certainly is something that we want to be a part of, and we want to continue, and we will not tire. Because it is about the freedoms of all of us. So we will continue. And the work, and we've got a number of events that are scheduled out over a while.
Let me answer Aldrin, SABCA. Yeah, look, it's a good question. What we have, this whole thing of Team South Africa started when President Zuma dismissed Minister Nene. Remember, then we took a massive knock. About 550 billion rand was wiped off from stocks, from shares, and from our members' pension funds. And that is when we decided to come together and we formed Team South Africa, and we work out the strategy, how we would, number one, maintain our investment status. Number two, to tell the investment community what are the three social partners doing together, business, labor, and government. And we had a investor roadshow first, where all the CEOs of a stock exchange went to New York, and we engaged with them, and it was a huge success. Then we also had different meetings with the rating agencies in New York, in Boston, and in London. And then after that trip, we went on another mission to the World Economic Forum in Davos, and we had the opportunity to brief them about what is the thing that labor, business, government want to do together. And our briefing was, we want to deal with poverty, we want to deal with unemployment, and we want to deal with inequality. And what we then did at NATLAC, under the Deputy President, we designed a national minimum wages. Because the only way that you can deal with inequality is you need to lift the people at the bottom up. So we announced that, and so when Pravin Gordhan were leading the delegation to London, that was the good news that we wanted to tell the investors, that we've made an agreement on the minimum wages, and we're going to pay people 3,500 rand per month. And then secondly, we've also made progress on the labor relations things, how we want to manage those things. So those things would have actually now put us in a better position to say, guys, we have made progress. The economic growth is low, but I mean, move up to a better notch. But the morning when the delegation landed in London, Pravin Gordhan received an SMS from the presidency to say, we must cancel all the meetings. We must also return back immediately to South Africa. Now, for us, that is clear that the president doesn't have the economic welfare of South Africa in mind. Number two, he is now clearly demonstrating to everybody, because the international standard is from government, you need a credible, a capable, and a competent government. On all three occasions, he just failed. He wait till midnight, till everybody sleeps, and then he announces a new cabinet. Because 15 people will just reshuffle like that. You know, that created huge things. So FEDUSA decided that we're going to suspend our participation in Team South Africa because it's a futile exercise. You know, to go to New York and go and speak to investors where you know the elephant in the room is President Zuma. You see, he's the one that has to leave because he doesn't act in interest. I also heard from my business colleagues, they've also informed government that they have no trust in government anymore, and therefore they also don't want to be part of this roadshows. So what we believe in this particular initiative is South Africa is a beautiful country. We've got a huge potential, white, black, colored, Indian. We must all work together so that we can deal with poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And we must have a proper program to work on, not slogans, and that will not take us forward. Thank you. I hope I answer your question.
On the question of Constitutional Court, the time frames are going to be determined by the Constitutional Court maybe in the afternoon of tomorrow after everybody has filed papers. So we can't say anything about that. We will depend on the Chief Justice to give us another direction.
There is a question about protest fatigue. You see, when citizens get tired and get fatigued, rogue leaders don't get tired. They continue to destroy society. If you are looking for a graphic evidence of what I'm talking about, look at Zimbabwe next door. Zimbabweans got tired. Mugabe did not get tired. He has destroyed Zimbabwe today. In South Africa, all over, you meet Zimbabweans looking for jobs, begging for food. Zimbabwe used to be a breadbasket of Southern Africa, you will remember. But because citizens got tired when Mugabe started, look at where Zimbabwe is today. So some of us take part in these campaigns, initiatives, knowing that we will never get tired, because if we do, Jacob Zuma will destroy this country. And let me tell you, your children and my children will walk with shame. I don't know where they will go, because Zimbabweans came to South Africa. Where will South Africans go if we allow Jacob Zuma to destroy this country? This is the only thing we have. We must protect it with all our strength, and we must not get tired until we have gotten rid of Jacob Zuma.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if the questions can just be related to the 27th, otherwise others can be directed at individuals after the press conference, just in the interest of time. So if it can just be media related to the 27th.
Well, I don't know, just two quick questions. First to the General, you said now that you've written to the SG of the ANC and the Deputy President of the country. Have there been other people within the ANC who've communicated with you at all about, since the march at least last week, and even now about the 27th of April? The second one, sorry, is a follow-up, Catherine, I just have to. Mr. Dennis George, you said the President has no economic welfare, he has no mind rather, regarding the economic welfare of the country in his actions around the recall of Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. But here you are not trying to assist and rally behind a new minister who's now gone off on his own to try and do what's best for the country. Should you not be, while you fight this issue of President Jacob Zuma, I mean, he's been seen as a problem for a long time, then maybe try and rally around the economic welfare of the country? I'm just trying to understand that thinking as well.
I think it's a fair question. I think what you must remember is this is not the first time.
Yes.
You see, he was warned. And he was, if you remember, when we formed Team South Africa, we told him that he must apologize at the first press conference when we had with Minister Nene. You know, Minister Nene was like very honorable. He just kept quiet. He pretended to believe the lies that he's being earmarked for a BRICS. You see, when a leader deliberately, intentionally do something, because he knew if he is going to remove Minister Gordhan, this thing is going to hit big time. Okay? And to be downgraded is not some small thing like some silly minister said, no, we will just pick the rand up again. Okay? It will take us many years to get out of where we are today. And you can't go there like window dressing and pretend everything is hunky-dory. And that is the reason why this march on the 27th is important. We have to educate our people about the importance of South Africans uniting together, and that we must move away from slogans like the slogan now is now radical economic transformation. What happened to the commitment that we made in the National Development Plan, where we said we're going to work together? So the credibility is very important, and the rating agency will just laugh at us anyway.
Thank you. There were two questions here at the door, and then I'm going to close up, and I'll take this third question here.
I'm starting from Action Aid South Africa. It's a South African civil society organization. You've convened this press briefing in the name of civil society. Why is it that none of us have heard about this initiative until today? And when we called your spokesperson yesterday, he was deliberately deceptive about the political partisan nature of this alliance. Where's credible civil society organizations in this entire initiative? You come here to face a solid wall of men in a country with the majority of us are actually women.
Okay, let me answer it because I'm from civil society, so you, my comrade, will understand each other. We come from the same sector. First and foremost, you are wrong. When I read out the statement, I said we are a coalition of representatives from political parties, I said that, civil society organizations, academia, faith organizations, and so on. So it is not correct that people who are sitting here come only from our sector. It's a diversity of South Africans coming from different sectors. Number one. Number two, and most importantly, we are making a call to all South Africans to join us. So, by the way, you are welcome to come and sit with us. We are very happy that you came, so that we build this thing. So by the time we reach Freedom Park on the 27th, you will be on stage, joined by many other leaders from civil society and other political parties. So thanks for your question. This is a start. You are welcome. Please come and join us on stage.
Thank you. Sorry, the gentleman, and I'm not sure if you still have a question.
Yes, it's following on from my colleague Ashton from the Times of London. General Holmes referred to reaching out to Secretary General, Deputy President. Do you think that that's how you might get traction within the ANC by attempting to win senior members of the party over your cause? And do you really think that's feasible, given that they've repeatedly iterated their loyalty to the party?
can I just take the second last question as well at the same time?
On the mission statement, my name's John Clark. I actually work for Outer Embedded, but I'm also a freelance writer and journalist. Safeguarding the Constitution has flaws. I mean, it seems to me that our problem that we're facing, taking apart the individual Jacob Zuma, is almost a case where, you know, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the Constitution concentrated absolute power on the President and the executive arm. So we are now, unfortunately, reaping the consequences of that naivety. Now, I supported the Constitution. So should we really be safeguarding the Constitution as much as safeguarding constitutionalism, but seeking a national convention to change that Constitution so that when the EFF comes to power, we don't see the same thing happening with Julius Malema, or when the UDN comes to power, that we don't see, because we're all human.
Well, if I can respond to...
Let's allow all the questions, and then we respond to all of them.
I think that was the last question. Is there another question at the door? Okay, I think that's the final question. Thank you.
We wrote letters to all political parties. ANC is one of them. Cyril Ramaphosa, as I've heard, is the head of business government business in Parliament. We do so because we don't want to be seen to be ganging up against other South Africans. But rather we are saying, let us converge under one roof and identify problems in our systems, including the issue of the Constitution. Other people are saying, let us amend the Constitution. Other people are saying, no, we are going to take the land by force. Others are saying, no, we are involved in radical economic transformation, and so on and so on. There are certain areas which need that South Africans must close ranks and swallow our pride, irrespective of one's political affiliation, but put South Africa and its citizens first. So we invited the ANC and the Deputy President along those lines. This is a teaser which we have posted or we have sent to all political parties. If the civil society, the religious grouping, the traditional institutions, the government says this is a brilliant idea, that would be good. Because there are certain resolutions which might be taken at the end of the day, which would necessitate that the state or government institutions must implement those, including Parliament.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yes. If I can just highlight, I mean, I do agree with you that there's a fundamental principle about saying we defend constitutionalism. The Constitution has been amended a number of times. That's not the challenge. The question that we've got before us is to answer, when we talk about safeguarding it, there is also a question about a president who has violated the Constitution. Now, can you allow that principle to be maintained where someone who violates the Constitution continues to function as the head of state and violates just even the basic provisions that are already there without amending it in Section 89 and Section 102? So the questions remain before us. And part of what we are saying here is that as a movement, without even seeking to amend, there are already tenets that are being violated by a president who is no longer interested, as he's already been on record saying is above the Constitution, to say we need to defend it. And I think today is about bringing South Africans together, is about saying, let's understand what our problems are, let's understand the future of this country, for it's in all of our interests that we get it right. We can't accept status quo as it stands at the moment, and we need to be engaged in whether it's a process in Parliament, engaged in a process on the streets to say, here's a tomorrow that we want to forge. And I think that must never not be taken off, because the point is, regardless of how you frame a constitution, accountability always must remain with the people. And the people must know they are the first protectors of the Constitution, ultimately against any abuse, however way you frame it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears I got a signal from Catherine that we are drawing to a close. Just a small detail. We will obviously keep you informed as we prepare towards the 27th of April. If you need further information regarding preparations, you can call myself, Kathy, or Ben Theron. We will gladly give you whatever information you need as we prepare towards the 27th of April. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if anyone wanting to individual interviews, those can be arranged for you after. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.